Hello, BookTube. I want to make a few more romance videos. And you can just skip them if you want. You won't be hurting my feelings. I want to make romance videos until I feel like stopping. I have a large collection of romance novels. They bring me a lot of pleasure. Why should I ignore that? I won't do them all because there are hundreds of them. That would take us a long time. But I want to show you some more. So I'm sitting down. I'm not standing up anymore. So we're not going to be doing just the old style Regency romance novels that we've been doing so far. Those are the bulk of this one remaining bookcase in this library tour. But the further you go towards the ground, the more they start to mix up with other things. So that's what we're going to do for this video and for a few more videos. So the first one is a modern Regency. This is something that we've seen before. I've pulled it out as an example, as a hubba hubba example. This is Samantha James. This is The Sins of Viscount Sutherland. And that, she is one of his sins, and there, if you, the step back is, there he is. Hubba hubba. What have we got here? Claire Ashcroft has good reason to despise Viscount Grayson Sutherland. The wildly unpredictable man with a frightening reputation, Sutherland is responsible for the death that deeply pains her. She'd kill him if she could. Instead, she'll employ her feminine wiles to make him pay. And once he's deeply, irreversibly in love with her, she'll shatter his vulnerable heart. Her scheme works perfectly. Too perfectly. You'd see some of the elements there that are what I'm talking about when I say that this, let me show you, this is the old style Regency romance that we've been dealing with. All through the 80s, all through the 90s, all into the early 2000s. This was the old style Regency romance. These are made by Signet, but they were made by a bunch of others as well. They're set in the Regency period. The older ones are more historically accurate, usually. So they're set specifically within the bounds of the Regency period. They often make allusions to the situation in Ireland or to the Napoleonic Wars. The period slang and the period idioms will all be accurate or mostly accurate. Those old style Regency romances, which had stolen kisses and sometimes slightly coarser sexual innuendo, but never anything explicit. That the explicit stuff was almost always left until after the final page, when there would be marriage and children. Those old style Regency romances morphed into what is today's Regency romance, which is something like this, which probably most of them don't even have a date anymore. Yeah, this one starts off, the prologue starts off simply London. The historical references will be a lot less specific, a lot less binding on the narrative. There will be almost no period dialogue or idiom because it's off-putting to readers who don't know it. It used to be that Regency romances, the old style ones, were read by people who read lots of Regency romances and therefore had come to know the lingo. Not so these. These are more gauzy. They're more all-purpose historical, ye olden times. They're not medieval. They're not ancient. They're no gladiators or anything like that. And they're not, broad-scale modern. They're not Victorian. Instead, they partake of a much vaguer idea of what the Regency period is. I don't so much mind that. My own ways of enjoying them have morphed as they have morphed. So a novel like this, where there are violent passions involved, not just a young lady who thinks that she might be in love with the man she once fawned over as a puppy when she was a little girl, but a woman who wants to kill someone, and a man who is accused of murder. And these things also often have violent climaxes. Not just a child missing in the rain, but actual, gunfire or swordplay or whatnot. I'm not condemning them. They are a very, very entertaining read. I have a whole slew of them, as you're going to see. They're just a very different. It's a very different kind of thing. If you come straight from the old style Regency romances to these, you will. I had many customers who said, "I tried them. I know they're what I have to deal with now, and I simply can't." The cleverness, the artificiality, the corseted format. I liked all of those things, and those are all gone now. The one thing that isn't gone, that underwent a transformation but isn't always absent, is cleverness. cleverness of characterization, cleverness of dialogue. That isn't always gone. In fact, it's often present in these are some very hardworking, very smart, very collegial authors. So we're going to see some of those. This next one is Falling for His Grace. This is Christian Vaden. This is another modern Regency romance. He is in skin-tight clothing, what little clothing that he's wearing. I'd be willing to bet that this doesn't even give a date. Oh, no, it does. This one says it's set in London in 1817. So, what have we got here? Lucas Mayfield, the 8th Earl of Hertford, couldn't be more pleased with the private club that was his brainchild. But when a young courtesan at the club's masquerade appears far too innocent, his suspicions are raised, along with his interest, until her gleaming hair tumbles down and he recognizes her as the Duke of Chatterwood's beautiful daughter. What's she doing in a place like that? How did the minx ever know the place existed? And how has he allowed himself to give in to temptation and kiss her? More perplexingly, she has vowed the kiss won't be the last. You see, that kind of explicit stuff, the kissing, the caressing, would not have happened in an old-style Regency romance, and certainly not in the Regency period. If it had happened, it would have ruined everyone involved. Oh, there's the bee. She was wandering around down on the floor, but I've noticed, she really doesn't like to be that far away from me. If she has a choice, she's not going to fuss about it, and she doesn't get neurotic about it like my old pointer did. But she really doesn't like to be that far away from me when we're together. She's not by any means a cuddly dog, but she likes to be nearby. It's kind of weird, kind of nice. All right, so what is our next one here? Okay. This is Joanna Shupe. We've seen this author before, and I have fallen in love with her. She's really good. And she's not a Regency romance. These are historical, but they're the Gilded Age New York. I really hope that she's the forerunner of maybe a bigger shift towards the Gilded Age of New York, because that's a terrific venue for romances. Every bit as colorful and interesting as the Regency period, and largely unexplored by historical romance authors. This is The Rogue of Fifth Avenue, one of her Uptown Girls novels, involving some secondary characters from previous novels. I loved it. Just loved it. Like I said, I hope that these historicals move to the Gilded Age in New York. And I can think of a couple of other time periods as well. Where are the Edwardian romances? That's 10 years of if anything, more societal excess and license than the Regency ever knew. And more opulence, more color, more intimations of the modern era. Where are the Edwardian romances, I ask you? Anyway. Okay, here's Lord of Lies. This is by Amy Sandus. This is a fallen ladies novel. Look at that cover. That man is beautiful. And he's undressed. The attractiveness dynamic between the two of them is exactly equal. That didn't happen in old style Regencies at all. It would have been something in those old authors or the old publishers and their illustrators. Something would have been very off for them to do a cover painting, which is essentially a boy. I mean, it's slightly older than a boy, but only slightly. He's not a man of the world. He's not enough gray at his temples. Hasn't been to Waterloo, although this guy probably has. Let's see here. When a dangerous moneylender kidnaps her sister, Portia Chadwick seeks help from the man known only as Nightshade. Soon she's charging headfirst into his world of intrigue and danger with unexpected passion. Del Turner grew up in London's back alleys. Vowing to escape his low beginnings, he hires himself out to the society's elite. When he accepts a job from a beautiful debutante, he doesn't anticipate her determination to join in his mad occupation, or her ability to inspire emotions he thought long buried. Okay. All right, this next one is not historical at all. It's set in the present day, and it is terrific. Oh my, I cannot recommend this book or this author strongly enough. This is A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. We saw it on this channel. I hauled it. And let me see here. Naya Jeremy fled Thesolo, that's an African country where her father was a minister, for the glitz and glamour of NYC, but discovered that her Prince Charming exists only in her virtual dating games. When Naya returns home for a royal wedding, she accidentally finds herself up close and personal in bed with a very real-life celebrity prince who she loves to hate. For Johann von Braustein, the red-headed step-prince of Lichtenberg, acting as a paparazzi bait is a ruse that protects his brother, the heir to the throne, and his own heart. When a royal referendum threatens his brother's future, a fake engagement is the perfect way to keep the cameras on him. So he has taken it upon himself to act as paparazzi bait, as this louche, hard-partying society animal, and she at first believes that myth as opposed to the reality. It's just a terrific book, not like any romance that I've ever read. I just loved it. Okay, we've seen this before. This is a Regency double. These big fat Regency, sometimes Signet did put two slim books together into one big book. They did quite a few. I don't have that many, but I remember them all. This is A Christmas Kiss and Winter Wonderland, both by Elizabeth Mansfield, and both taking advantage of, like I mentioned, the weird pairing of the Regency period and Christmas. I don't understand it at all, but nevertheless, it's very popular. It's very popular as that the Regency period will be when old-timey, wonderful Christmases with holly and scented logs and of course the gigantic feast that's made in the kitchen and whatnot will all be a centerpiece. I don't get it, but nevertheless, here's another one, Father Christmas. This is by Barbara Metzger with a again, the dynamic on the cover is not anything like, this is a photo cover. That model turns up a lot. Both of them do. This dynamic is nothing like you would see in any old Regency. It's a little too direct. It's a little too smoldering. What have we got here? A war hero's widow. Grace Anne still has her adorable 3-year-old twin boys to love until she receives a letter from her late husband's demanding cousin, Leland Warrington, the Duke of Ware. It seems that the Duke, 32 years old, twice widowed, and with no foreseeable plans to marry again, is in desperate need of an heir. And seeing that Grace Anne has 2 boys, she could easily spare one. Okay. Well, some of you will recognize this. Oh, well, Sarah at Steeped in Books will recognize this. This is the great Eloisa James. And this is, did we see her? Samantha James is the one we saw. Eloisa James has a series of the Wilds of Lindau Castle, and this is one of them. It's not the first one, but it, I think, has sold better than all the others put together, and I would be willing to bet that it's entirely due to the cover. This is Born to be Wild. The stepback has him in the arms of a beautiful young woman, and is fairly nice. I mean, that's if you can possibly look past his rippling delts and lats, you'll see that it is at least a gesture at the kind of picturesque Regency cover that we've seen. But these Wild books are terrific. They're just extremely explosive and suggestive. For beautiful, witty Lavinia Gray, there's only one thing worse than having to ask the appalling Parth Sterling to marry her, being turned down by him. Now the richest bachelor in England, Parth is not about to marry a woman as reckless and fashion-obsessed as Lavinia. He's chosen a far more suitable bride. But when he learns of Lavinia's desperate circumstances, he offers to find her a husband. Even better, he'll find her a prince. The Wilds books are terrific. Sorry that the camera is jogging. The bean is she's trying to make herself comfortable on the bed. She's fussy. She's very fussy, and that causes the camera to wobble just a bit. Let's see here. Okay, this is, I don't think this has a date at all. This is a modern Regency. Let's see if the it does, 1818. So this is a modern Regency. This is by Valerie Bowman. She's fantastic. She's really good. I think I've read quite a few of her books. This is Kiss Me at Christmas. Notice he's not wearing any clothes, so you know you're in a modern Regency. And the sexual innuendo will start right away and keep going all throughout the book. I don't mean that to sound as prudish as it does, as I'm sure that it does. It's a different latitude, that's all. And these new style Regency romances lost a lot of old-fashioned readers and gained a lot of readers who wouldn't before have read anything historical by indulging in that latitude. And the real payoff, the thing that I love about Regency romances, the reason why I love them so much, isn't affected by that change in latitude. The real payoff for me for a Regency romance is that wonderful moment at the climax of every one of these books where the hero and the heroine realize that they desperately love each other. One thing or another has gotten in the way and made either one of them or both of them sure that that was not the case, or that it would never work. And you know that it's coming. You know that that moment is coming. In a classic Regency romance, it's always going to happen. But the good authors, they hit it out of the park, and it's guaranteed to put a smile on your face. It's such a simple thing. It's not metafiction. It's not self-aware. It's not anything. It's not cynical or worldly wise or anything like that. It's just a simple payoff of putting a smile on your face, and that happens in all of these new ones as well. So that the essential for me hasn't changed. Okay, then we have another double. This is another Regency double. These are both by Lynn Kirsten. One is Celia's Grand Passion, and the other is Lucy in Disguise. This is a double novel that is not Christmas themed. It's just two Regencies. I wish that I had more of those. I wish that I remembered more clearly what they were like. They came out regularly, but I don't think they came out as often as the normal ones. All right. Well, this is not a Regency at all. This is a contemporary novel. This is Jodie Thomas. This is Mistletoe Miracles, a Ransom Canyon novel. This is a contemporary story set in another. This is a very, very prosperous and popular subgenre of romance. Is not so much cowboys or Highlanders or pirates or the Regency, but a location where the key attraction is a location where all of these stories take place in the same place in the Pacific Northwest or on the West Coast or on the coast of Virginia or in the snowy, beautiful mountains of Colorado or whatever. The author will pick a place and just fill it with people. It's a great way to reward longtime readers because you eventually start to know all these characters, and the location acts as a way of welcoming the reader. I come to like it very much. Let's see here. So this is small town Texas. Griffin Holloway is desperate. The Maverick Ranch has been in his family for generations, but lately it's a money pit. He'd sooner marry one of his horses than sell the ranch. Marriage, though, could be a solution. If he could just woo a wealthy bride, he might save the ranch just in time for Christmas. Jackson O'Grady likes his solitude just fine. Thank you very much. But when a car accident brings the unexpected to his door, he realizes just how much one person can need another. Crossroads is the perfect place for Jamie Johnson. Avoiding noisy questions about why she's single, she's happy to keep her lakeside home. So she's baffled when she gets the strangest Christmas present of all in the form of a Mr. Johnson asleep on her sofa. Who is he, and why does everyone think he's her husband? I sneeze in every video. That plot description shows you something that these contemporary books often do, which is have multiple plot lines going at the same time, all of them primary. That never happens in Regencies, even modern Regencies. There might be a subplot, but there won't be many plates spinning in the air. And these location novels often do that. Here's another location novel. This is a Gold Valley novel by Maisie Yates. I absolutely loved this book. This is a tall, dark cowboy Christmas. They would not be sitting out on a rail fence in the snow dressed like that, but nevertheless. Grant Dodge didn't expect to find a woman sleeping in an abandoned cabin on his family ranch, or to find her so intriguing. Unlike every other woman in town, McKenna Tate doesn't know Grant's widower. There's no pity in the looks she gives him. McKenna wants him, and Grant has forgotten what it's like to feel like a man. A no-strings fling for Christmas might be the kind of holiday cheer Grant needs. With only a suitcase to her name, McKenna came to Gold Valley to confront her birth father. She didn't plan to work at the Dodge Ranch or fall for the gorgeous cowboy who keeps his heart roped off. But there's no denying the way their broken pieces fit together. That's often a theme in these contemporary books, is that the characters will, unlike Regencies, especially the old-style Regencies that I'm talking about, where the two characters are temperamentally perfect for each other and just need the whole book to find that out. In these contemporaries, um, in addition to being temperamentally perfect for each other, a lot of times the two main characters will be badly damaged, traumatized, wounded, that sort of thing, and that makes their coming together more complicated, much more contemporary and adult, but often incredibly satisfying. Oh, okay, great. This is an old-style Harlequin historical romance. Harlequin is a venerable romance publisher, and every month they do a whole bunch of things. They do a whole bunch of series. If you watch Sarah at Steeped in Books, you really should, of course. If you're interested in romance, you should. Then you've seen the whole variety of them. And one of their staples forever and ever was 4 historical romances every month. And for a long time, the Harlan historicals had an identifying trait that can't have been cheap, and that they don't do anymore, as far as I know, and that was to have an inside cover, to have 2 covers. So not a step back. Let me see here. A step back is this, where you have a half cover, and then the picture on the inside with no logo or anything is the step back illustration. These things weren't that; they were just a separate illustration. This is a Harlequin historical from the 1990s, I'm assuming, 2001, by Tori Phillips, called One Night in Venice. And then you have the front cover, but you also have an inside cover illustration. And this was one of the first romances that I got once I was awakened to their appeal. I wasn't completely on board yet, but I got it because it was set in Venice, and that's comparatively rare for historical novels. And I need not have thought about it that way, because the authors who set their romances in Venice don't usually do a whole lot of research, so it's not like you're noticing anything. But I used to get a lot of Harlequin historicals, and I wish... I don't understand Harlequin's business model. I know that's a horrible turn towards the tawdry, but I don't understand their business model. I don't understand how they do things now. I would subscribe to Harlequin historicals in a heartbeat if it was easy to do. I've been to their website a few times, and it doesn't look all that easy to do. For $20 a month, I would subscribe to those 4 novels and get them every month without thinking about it. The places you can go, actual brick and mortar bookstores that carry Harlequin romances, are few and far between. As luck would have it, my luck would have it, the big Barnes & Noble here in Boston, the one remaining, does have Harlequin romances. The Love Swept and the Love Inspired and Harlequin Presents and whatnot. The one series every month that they don't have, that Barnes & Noble somehow doesn't get, is the Harlequin historicals. And it should be easier. Maybe it is easier to just get the breadth of Harlequin romances over the internet. Maybe it's easy to do that, and I just don't know how. I should talk to Sarah about it, because she's in tight with the Harlequin people, and they're lucky to have her. But anyway, let's push on just a bit more. This next one is a Highlander novel. The Scottish Highlanders, whether in the present day or in history, in the historical times, are tremendously popular subgenre of romance. Some of them have fallen. Some of those subgenres have fallen out of favor. Used to be you couldn't go a month without a torrid Comanche romance. Those have disappeared completely. Viking romances have become more and more problematic because Vikings took war brides as possessions and weren't all that hygienic. Highlanders seem indestructible, and this I confess, I don't get that. I've met my share of Scottish Highlanders, and I don't get the allure at all. I think it has something to do with the kilts, but one way or another, every once in a while, I try my hand at a Scottish Highlander novel, and this is one from I think last year, by Lindsay Sands, called The Wrong Highlander. There he is. That would be a freezing cold natural shower anywhere in Scotland. And the step back doesn't have anybody in it. Yeah, the step back is just the rest of the waterfall, with pictures of previous books in this series. The Highlanders Promise, Seduced by the Highlander, and Falling for the Highlander, all of which I've only read the first one, The Highlander's Promise, and then I read this one, The Wrong Highlander. And Lindsay Sands pours her heart into it. It's just, I don't think something about the wavelength of Highlander romances, I just don't seem to get them. And then we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up for now with a book that we saw before. This is Olivia Drake. This is The Duke I Once Knew. This is the first book in the Unlikely Duchess series. I just got the second one. It's a tremendously playful series. I don't think these are the kind of very vague Regencies that I've been talking about. Yeah, this doesn't even have a date. So it's just the olden times. It's beautiful gowns. It's horse-drawn carriages. It's that sort of thing. But nothing more pressing than that. Nothing more exact than that. But a terrific series. Tons of fun. And that's it. That's our next romance melange, and we'll just keep going. I want to do a few more of these. You can either indulge me or you can skip these videos. But I love these things. It doesn't seem right to give them short shrift, so I'm going to do a few more romance videos, maybe another week of them. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. Sorry it's gone so long. I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.